everyone. We are at Itron Inspire, and I'm talking to Ty Roberts about network solutions. So let's start with what's your quick definition about network solutions?
Network solutions. So this is connecting devices, intelligent devices that are taking measurements for cities and for utilities in order for them to have an understanding of what's going on in their environment, and as well, the very basics is metering, so that they can actually invoice and bill their customers.
Okay. All right. Great. So what's driving the adoption of more and more of these networked devices all out in the field? Is it one thing that you see, or do you think it's a whole bunch of different innovations?
No, it's a great question. It was what I often say to people who ask this question about, well, what are you guys doing in IoT? We've been doing IoT as an industry for 15 or 20 years, for a very long time. So, the original driver was automating meter reading and sort of taking crews out of the field and saving money in that way, but then also bringing in more data to sort of drive more solutions based on intelligence to understand where there's outages in the field and where to address those, to remotely connect and disconnect people so you don't have to go out and send people out in the field to do that work either. And then create all sorts of new and interesting billing programs that incent people to save energy or reduce peaks, et cetera. And sort of the city space where we've really seen the adoption primarily is in measurements of water, as well as control of streetlights. So those are really have been the first use cases that are driving forces.
All right, cool. And then my favorite question is where are we headed? We had a super cool keynote this morning looking at the future. Where do you see it? How do you see it?
Well, what's really exciting, I think it's sort of across the industry right now, whether you're talking about electric, gas, water, or municipal services, it's this concept of intelligence at the edge of the networks and more autonomous action. When you think about the electric space, especially where there's electric vehicles coming online en masse within the next 5 years, that's just a massive amount of new load that's going to be on the electric grid, and it's going to be mobile. So understanding where it is and where to charge is difficult. And for utilities, understanding, okay, where do I need to have electricity available and ready to address this very mobile sort of use case. Distributed energy resources coming online, and then looking in sort of the areas of water. Of course, you can see this around the world where conservation of water is becoming much more of a priority in places where there's droughts. We see this in the United States and the western side of the country, for example. So being able to measure is essential to being able to conserve or do anything from that perspective.
Right.
And then thinking about gas as well. Safety is the big driver in that industry. So having devices that are smart enough to tell when there's a condition that's dangerous in the field, if there's low pressure or high temperature, having devices that are smart enough to understand that and then to turn themselves or disconnect the service to prevent a safety issue from happening. And then of course in the city space, just all of us and citizens are getting more and more services served to us on our smartphones and have that expectation. So cities being able to provide digital services to their citizens in the form of helping them find parking more easily, helping them navigate traffic, and just air quality and safety services as well. There's just a demand that we are putting on municipalities to drive more. So all of that is really driving the need for more connectivity, and especially the more need for intelligence right at the edge to address issues that are really immediate, and there's no time to send information to the back office and crunch and figure out. It's an immediate need. So it's very exciting.
It's really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. And that one of the things that the futurist this morning was saying was human behavior is actually what pushes technology forward. We see the possibilities, we push for that. I love how you explain that as well. Thank you. Is there a utility that you think is really getting this right, is really pushing the envelope of network solutions?
That's a super hard question because there's several. There's a lot of people doing really doing interesting things. So just being in South Florida here, Tampa Electric, or TECO, is doing some amazing things right now. They're really the leaders in the concept of implementing distributed intelligence within their smart metering network. So they're the first who've really deployed applications that are using data on meters, so software deployed on meters to detect different safety conditions is where they started, and to notify their field crews, this is where you need to go out and find an issue and mitigate it. So they're really on the beginning of that journey, but it's exciting because they're really blazing a trail. Another one I wanted to call out was City Public Service in San Antonio, where CPS and SAWS, San Antonio Water System, have really joined forces and combined. So CPS Energy deployed a electric smart metering network several years ago, and now they're sharing that asset to read the water meters of the water department. So it seems like an obvious thing, but that kind of collaboration between two different organizations is very unusual. But they're coming together to do that for the citizens of San Antonio. So that's very exciting as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that is very exciting. It has totally different departments, I'm sure, and
Yes.
getting them to work together. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. That's Ty Roberts with Itron. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me.
My pleasure.